you know, when you get these kind of accusations, you know, I guess I should have took politics in school instead of something else. And then I could, I don't think I'd be getting recalled. But, you know, when you just speak from your heart and you do what you think is right, I think the people have to agree with you. You know, these kinds of charges are just ridiculous, and that's all I could say. Thank you.
This may be the final question. This one actually comes from me. I'm curious as to how you're going to reach out when this is all over. I mean, what do you obviously the community is split, and that creates all sorts of, you know, issues out there beyond this. And once this is over, and let's say you're all still on the council here, how do you go about it? What do you think you should do or should be your role in trying to bring people, the community, back together after this experience, of which is not completed? And you've been at this now for months, obviously straining a lot of people and a lot of emotions. How do you go about in healing the community, do you think? What is your role in that, I think, when this is all done? It will be done. You do know that. I mean, at some point it will be resolved. So how do you go about getting the community back? Let's start to work our way back.
Well, I'd like to, you know, start out by saying that I don't believe in recalls, and I think that they tear at the fabric of the community. I think that they create nothing but divisiveness and bitterness and hard feelings, and I think that everybody that is elected, that has been elected, should be allowed to serve out their term. I do not believe that this was what the purpose of recalls were. I think it was for serious transgressions, not for politically motivated accusations that have no foundation. And I believe that the recall, I'd like to see it called off for everyone, including the mayor. I mean, there's people that are saying, well, the city council, the people that support the council want to recall the mayor, and my own feeling is that none of us should be recalled, including the mayor. We should all be allowed to serve out our terms. If you don't like what we do, then at the next election, at the next regular, real election, vote us out and vote somebody else in. But this council, our heart is in the right place. We have very faithfully tried to serve the citizens. We've worked very hard, and I think we'll continue to do that. So I think the place to start healing is to call off the recall.
I'd like to echo some of Ward's sentiments. A number of years back, when there were talk of recall of some past councilors, I didn't support that. But I think that part of us moving forward as a city, when the time comes, and hopefully it's coming soon, I think would be hiring a city manager that is committed to working with this particular council. And I just, it's my personal opinion, I'm just not sure if the last man was the right person to work with this particular council, and which was obvious with our vote. I think that, you know, if you look at our normal council chambers, and I've said this once before, but I'll say it again, you've got the council sits on one side up in the front, you've got the staff sitting on the other side, you've got the aisle down the middle, which one person actually once called the $1 million divide, because you got $1 million of salaries on one side and you got the volunteer guys on the other side, and it's almost impossible to jump across that divide. But there's one seat that's in the middle, and that's the city manager's seat. And we're going to need a city manager that on a daily basis, enthusiastically and happily, bridges the gap between this particular elected city council and allows them, and us, I should say, to set policies, and uses the expertise and the resources that the staff has to be able to implement our policies. And I feel that that is the start of us moving forward. I also feel that I personally have no problem, and I enjoy talking to people one-on-one. I enjoy when people call me. I find that a lot more genuine, and I can take it much more realistically than if somebody shoots off an email to the entire council that just says you're a bunch of unethical so-and-sos. We get quite a few of those, but again, I'd like to hear from people. I would probably like to see public meetings when this is over, where people can, or private meetings. It makes no difference to me, but I prefer the private even, where people could air their views, but I think that we need a city manager that's the right person for this particular council in these particular economic times. I think that'll be a first step to moving forward.
Mark, comments?
Sure. I don't know if you've looked at like the budget. I think it's in the budget. It has a chart of how the city is organized, and it's on top of the chart of the citizens, and they vote in us, the councilors. The councilors set the policy and the direction for the city, and the city manager works under the council, and he transfers that direction and policy to the staff, and they carry it out on behalf of the citizens for the city of Grants Pass. And I think that we've got to get back to that chart. If we could just make sure that chart stays in effect. We want to work for you. We want to carry out the citizens' wishes as best we can. We're not always going to agree. There's just always going to be a disagreement on one issue or another. If it gets to the point where we're rerunning for election, then yeah, make the change. That's the time to make the change. But if we don't keep that organizational chart in effect, what happens is the citizens end up on the bottom, and that's what I don't want to see. And so we've got to bear in mind the citizens are on top, then the city council, then we have the city manager who implements that for through the hard work of a lot of good staff people, and that's how the city runs its best. But if that thing gets tilted at all, then it just doesn't work. It doesn't work well for the citizens. And I think this is the council that's really tried to put that back into effect.
Final word tonight to Bill Kangas.
Okay, agree with that. That chart is great. It's the people on top, and the people will always be on top in my mind. And the council below it, and the staff. One thing I proposed not too long ago, about 3 months ago, was a dinner with the staff, the council, the city manager, and the employees. And I never did get an answer back, and I asked about that, and they said, well, it might be a union problem, and but the union rep could sign off, and apparently they wouldn't. I said, okay, well, let me see the letter, here we go with trust and distrust. I never did see a letter, but I think it has to start there, and we have to work together in those chambers. And then from there, it goes out to the community. And I think family, in my case, I think it has to start with the families. And my wife and I, we have arguments. She picks up the paper. She says, oh, no, you don't want to see this one tonight, so we got to put it down. And then at work, we have a radio playing, and sometimes we hear things on the radio we don't want to hear. But you start at the council chambers. You start with the people. The people, any way you go, it's the people. You can't get around it. They're the ones that do the voting, and then work down. But you end up at the family and the community. And that's what it's all about, And the family and the community are the people, and you want them all working together. But to do that, we have to set the example as a council. I think the council's fairly got a good balanced council. We have a lot of 8-0 votes. We have some 5-3s. We have 6-2s. We have 4-4s. So we're balanced as a council. But I think the whole chamber in there with the staff, the people on the executive staff, and the city workers, all of us need to work together as a team, and then to show the community that it's a total team effort. You get a team working together, and I'm going to have to bring this up. I'm sure that Richard Michelin is not here tonight, but the story of John Elway in the drive in the Cleveland game, anybody remember that? But anyway,